What's up, everybody? So we are live. I want to give a special thanks to all the sponsors: Kenzies Optics, Riton Optics, Taurus USA, Crossbreed Holsters, of course, Canik. Can't thank Canik enough. Canik is awesome. Can't thank them enough for donating the pistols. Everything that they've done, Canik has been absolutely phenomenal. So big thank you to them. And I'm going to save my biggest thank you for everybody when they get in here, but I also want to take a minute to acknowledge tonight's topic. It's going to be controversial. Why relationships fail. And we're going to take an approach from a social media standpoint, and we'll take an approach kind of unique. But I'm going to get into a few things, then we'll get into that. So, a few things. I want to thank everybody who's participated in the contests. The contests are still going on, okay? So for those of you that are still involved in the contests, you have to head over to YouTube and participate, okay? Don't slow down, don't stop, and continue to participate. I've been sending out stuff. I'll be sending out another wave of stuff. And comment on my last post and let me know. So here's the deal. We are going to get into a topic tonight that's going to be interesting. We're going to talk about why relationships fail. You're going to like this one, Frenny. This is going to be a good one. I want to thank all of you who participated in the contest. The winners were awesome. Do I prefer here or IG? I don't care. YouTube's nice. It's easier for me to do comments and stuff on YouTube and to answer you guys. So, why relationships fail? So, amidst the rise, I'm getting divorced next month from Daryl. I don't mean to laugh, but this is a big topic. Dan, you're an expert, and I can have you chime in. Let me get into the meat of the topic. So, in today's day and age, in social media, in today's day and age with distractions, and that's what I call them, distractions. We surround ourselves with more and more distractions. If you've ever heard the term, people create their own drama. In many ways, I had a long conversation. I was up at like 3:30 this morning. I had a long conversation with someone this morning. It was very interesting. He's actually someone who's part of our crew. I said, geez, I'm going to reach out to this guy. And we chatted. And we chatted about all the dramas and the things that go on. And we talked about a lot of different dramas. And one of the things that came up is just people who create their own drama. And we laughed about stories and things that we hear and things that we've heard about people, about myself. And it was just so comical. And those that know me really well, like, well enough, like Frenny and certain people in here, they know that, and it's safe to say, Dan, 90% of what you hear is crap. Now, and Frenny, I'll let you in when you want to chime in, but relationships fail mainly in a social media era because we don't create an environment for them to succeed. We knowingly don't create an environment for them to succeed. We create so many distractions and we put so much stuff in our life that it's so chaotic and so crazy that we don't allow for there to be any time spent that's quality time because we don't want to give the time to that person, whoever that is, whether it's a friendship or girlfriend or whatever. And what happens is, more often than not, if they have a certain amount of social success, and by social success I mean social media, everything else, many people don't know how to process the attention. So they get a lot of attention. Some people create their own storms and get pissed when it rains. That's a great way to put it. But someone else said generation numb. It's very true, you guys. We get into these relationships because we think it's what we want, but we're not prepared to give the time to the relationship or give the time to the friendship or the time to the things that we feel are important to us. And we don't put the phone down to give it the time that it deserves. So whether you have a friendship or a relationship, there's a huge failure, and it's a failure on all of our parts. We're all guilty of it, of giving that dedicated time to people. How I know I'm around somebody who is a really good interactor or really good person to network with is the phone becomes an afterthought. We're talking about why relationships fail, John. I can't keep repeating the top topic all the time. Head over to YouTube and see it. But we're talking about why relationships fail. So we don't dedicate enough time to allow that relationship to mature or to grow. So whether it's a friendship or a female or somebody that you just met, you have to have the ability to put certain things down. I had a really good friend years ago. I was sitting in Peabody, Massachusetts, and we were eating, and we were talking. And he picked up his cell phone. This is what he said to me. He goes, "John, this will be the death of people," and he's right. And he was an old school guy who was very not anti-phone, but he was very, guarded about what he put out there. Now, we live in a very different era and a very changing era. And I agree with you, Jonathan. It's a microwave era. And it's an era where everything has to be right now. I mean, we have apps for our apps. And we have apps for those apps. And everything has to be quick. AC says sometimes we have all these expectations and then we don't see the signs of what we're expecting, and then relationship descends fast. Absolutely. Because we live in a very instant gratification time. And we all look for that instant gratification. It's very true. I had a friend want to grab a beer the other night. 20 minutes in, he starts playing golf on his phone while I'm trying to have a discussion with him. That's absolutely true. I try to make it a point, wherever I am, to put the phone down for a little while. If I'm with an old friend and if I'm with Tony and like there's 100 things going on, I'm not thinking about it as much. But if I'm with somebody that I want to dedicate that time to, if you want to make the time, you'll make the time. And I've had some great relationships, and I'll pick on myself. I've had some awesome relationships with females, and I've had terrible relationships with females, where the priorities were all skewed and everything was all over the place. And I've not been successful in those relationships, and sometimes it was of my own fault. But more often than not, I can pinpoint the problem towards making the time and dedicating the time to that person. And if you can't dedicate the time to the person in front of you, then you're never going to make the time. We are influenced by storylines we've already seen played out on TV and movies. We see similarities and assume the end result will be the same. Or we assume the end result will be different. And more often than not, everybody looks for the fairy tale. In today's day and age, the fairy tale is very different than the movie. I was having a discussion with my coworker. She's new to the dating scene, and her thing is just sex first and expecting a relationship. It's never going to work. I think a lot of people put an emphasis on the physical, but I think it's more about the connection and more about forming that bond between friends. Me and my friends put our phones in the middle of the table when we go out. Whoever picks them up first has to buy the next round. Simple thing like that helps us connect without the technology. That's a great suggestion, Will. Relationships, not relationships. Sex is not a precursor to relationships. Most guys, I've tried to explain this to women. Most guys adhere, and I can neither confirm nor deny if I'm this way, but most guys usually adhere to a 3-date rule. Okay? And by a 3-date rule, most guys, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, believe in this. You go on a date. Most guys have a very low expectation on date 1, and they should. The expectation's low. They don't necessarily have to do the deed or turn the corner or go to the next level or whatever it is. Then usually a couple days goes by. If you're smart, you play the game, keep a little distance. Maybe you text, you talk, and you go on a second date. So let's say you go out on a Friday, it's date night, you go out, and let's say you don't get together till maybe the next Thursday or Friday because you want to play it cool. Hey, yeah, I'm busy all week. Get together with you next week. You play it cool. Yeah, you know, back and forth, little texting, you get a little closer. By the second date, usually you're looking for some level of interaction, a sign. If the girl agrees to a third date, then usually it's on. If it doesn't happen after the third date, you're in the friend zone. And you may as well let it go. That's most guys' criteria. And women say, oh, you're crazy, that's crazy. I said 3 dates starting out is usually by the second or third week. You're pretty along in the dating structure. You might go to that fourth, but you're going to be friend zone. People also don't date much anymore. They're a committed couple 1 week in, and it's a recipe for failure. That's true. There's not a lot of patience. But why they fail, I'm going to give you my top. I love tops, so I'm going to give you my top 3 reasons they fail. And I didn't make this list up without a lot of experience. Number 1, time. You don't give enough time. Whether that's time and space to allow the relationship to mature and to grow. 2, effort. There's not enough effort put into the relationship. Okay? If you don't put enough effort into it and you don't put enough effort into cultivating a really good relationship, then it's not going to work. Thirdly, and probably the most important, okay, you're not listening to each other. You can have a really good relationship where the time is there and the effort is there, but you're really on different pages because you're not listening to each other. You're hearing what you want to hear. If those 3 things aren't there, it's not going to work. It's not going to work in a friendship or in a girlfriend-boyfriend situation. More often than not. So time, effort, and listening or hearing or paying attention to the signs. So I do my best, and the pitfall I run into, listening, lack of communication, all those things. All the above. You can have great communication, but you're not listening. You know what I mean? I can have great communication with you, Frenny, and I could say, I'm not into that. I'm glad you are. But they keep hearing what they want to hear. It's like when people continuously support a junkie. You know, they're like, I'm going to get high. I don't give a fuck what you think. I'm going to get high. And you're just not listening. You know, you're hearing what you want to hear. You're not listening. And that happens a lot. A lot. So people just don't listen. Your best friends, your good friends, and the reason most relationships end up, you say, I married my best friend or I'm with my best friend, and you hear that is because you'll listen to your best friend. Exactly. You'll listen to your best friend. You call your best friend for advice, and you'll listen to that advice. You'll call your best friend for insight into a situation. You'll listen to that insight. So more often than not, that type of insight will prove invaluable, and you'll take that to the next thing. And you'll take that to the next thing and to the next thing. But those are my top 3 reasons why a relationship fails. And whether it's with a best friend and whether it's with, like with all my best friends, I run with a very tough crowd. A very tough crowd. And they're very honest. If something is fucked up, my crew will say, that's fucked up. Don't do that. Or this makes sense or that doesn't make sense. And more often than not, you're going to get a very painful degree of honesty. So you have to remember time, effort, and you have to listen. Okay? Communication, I don't always agree with. Because you can be super communicative. I don't think anyone will argue. I'm insanely communicative. I met with one guy today in here. Actually, he was a winner of a gun, and I was super communicative to him. But sometimes you're just not listening. Not listening to the signs. I've dated some women that I was best friends with. I can look back and I can say I was absolutely best friends with them. But either I didn't put the effort in or I didn't listen, and it kind of falls apart. You know? And sometimes you don't take enough breaks from each other. That's a part of it too. That's a part of effort. Sometimes you have to know when to put the gas on and take the gas off and have some separation time. You know, it's very difficult. So you have to balance it all out. I am by no means a relationship expert. The hiccups. I am by no means an expert on this. I can only offer what I think is my 20 minutes of free advice. And I will say this to all of you. If you got a good friend, if they're having a problem, or if you're having a problem, get in the habit of giving them not only your undivided attention, but listening to them, hearing them. And remember to make the time and make the effort. I always throw out to my friends, tell me when you want to get together. Tell me when you want to get together. Tell me when you want to get together. All the time. Let's get together. Okay. And pay attention to the signs. Pay attention to the things that they give back to you. And sometimes, listen, you can't force it. Sometimes it's just not going to be there. No matter what you do, it's just not going to be there. And if it's not there, you can't force it. You can't fit a square peg into a round hole. So it's going to take time, effort, and energy. And of course, listening capability. But remember, you have to make sure you know when to hold them and you know when to fold them. You know when to walk away and you know when to run. I don't have kids and I'm not borrowing yours. So I hope everybody understands the suggestions that I'm giving you. And I'm giving them to you because I've lived through it. I've lived through some horror shows of relationships. I've lived through some great relationships. And I stand by that advice. And don't be afraid to walk away from some relationships. So whatever rules or criteria you have for dating, that's very different than a relationship. You can date somebody for a pretty long time and know it's going to go nowhere. You can date somebody for a little while and know that nothing's going to come. But you have to build on that. And if you're not going to build on that and you're not going to put the time, the effort, or the listening behind it, it's never going to work. And the listening goes both ways. It goes both ways completely. It works in favor and it works against. So, as I said, I don't agree with communication. A lot of people say communication or communicate. Your communication can be fine. I can look at you got anyone who's a cop in this forum or anyone who's been around junkies in their life, I can look you dead in the eye and say, I'm going to go score an 8-ball and I'm going to get fucked up. And how many people have seen relationships, domestics, or seen situations where the wife's like, but I love him. I think he's communicating just fine. But the wife or the spouse or whoever it is isn't listening to what they're saying. They're not hearing. It's not being absorbed. So communication is some people live in a delusional psychosis. And I don't have to get into that. Semi-auto kids heard my rant on delusion. I'm around a lot of deluded people. A lot. So I tell you guys this because I get a lot of questions, obviously, about whether it's my personal life or how I approach relationships or my networking capability, all the above. I get asked these things a lot. You know, the whole love is blind thing is bullshit. Love is not blind. Okay? Love sees everything. And you have to live with yourself good and bad. And if you're in love with someone, you should never want to see them be hurt. How about when a guy is beating on a girl and you're like, lady, you got to get going before he kills you. And the girl's like, yes, I know, but I love him. Exactly. Seems like he's communicating fine to me. How do you feel about complacency? I think that's a huge for some people, the fear of leaving and being alone. Complacency is a big one, and I'm glad you brought it up. So complacency, guys, a lot of people get complacent, and a lot of people stay in bad relationships. And they stay in bad relationships. I'm just going to plug my charger in there. A lot of people stay in bad relationships for a number of reasons. And I think they stay in subpar relationships for a number of reasons. I don't know necessarily that it's a fear of leaving and fear of being alone. Some people are codependent. I've been okay in the past with being alone. I don't struggle with not being with someone. But I do think there is a bit of a codependency. And whether it's codependency to be going through the struggle alone more than almost anything. But I will tell you this. Because of how I work and how I like to work and my work ethic, and anyone who's been around me and Frenny has, it's very hard for me to find somebody that's my equal. I am a 5 a.m. grinder going till 11 at night. And, you know, it's tough. Do I want to be alone? No, I don't. I could say that to you guys completely honestly. No, I don't. But the reality is I also want to find someone that wants to hustle and wants to put the time and effort into the hustle and into making it successful. And that's why I love all you guys, and I love creating things, and I love seeing my theories tested out and seeing how my theories play out. So it's really important to me to put that hustle in. Not too many can hang with that grind. It's an up and in the gym, crack of dawn, go, 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 I'm always moving, grind. So, yes, I don't think that that's easy for a lot of people. And I don't think that's something that's going to come easy to a lot of females. I've dated all kinds. Kinds that want to sit at home, kinds that want to work, kinds that just are kind of bumps on a log, gypsies. You know, I've seen a lot of weird stuff. But nothing will change my opinion that you should be you and they should be them. And you should see the signs, you should not ignore the signs, and you should pay very strict attention to what you feel is going to put you in the best place to succeed. Semi-Auto Kid says, yeah, hell yeah, bro, you would be an awesome dad. You got to find the right one. Remember, we're not here forever. God only gives us so much time. You got to keep your legacy going. I agree. I hear that. Chicks love to whatever, for any trailed off. It's all about the hustle. I might have big arms, but my liking thumbs strong as fuck. Girls love to date cops until they date a cop with my schedule and they bail. And that's true. You have to be painfully honest and upfront about your commitments. And sometimes they'll hear you, but they're not listening. And that comes back to communication. A lot of people throw the C word out there. They say communicate, communicate, communicate. But communicating is a false positive. Oh, I communicate so much. We communicate. We're going to get better at communicating. But they're not listening. I've dated girls where I've told them, hey, we need to make more time. Friday nights, whatever. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And you don't see it. It's hard. But I'll stand by that number one reason of why they fail. Now, in this day and age, with all the distractions that everybody has, I think my girl pulled the goalie on me, and I'm super excited. That's classic. I think in this day and age, with all the distractions, you have to be very careful. I think 35 is the new 25, and I think you have time. You have time. You know, you can't fit big goals into a small life. Well, you can fit big goals into a big life. Have a big one. Make it big. You know, take chances. I mean, I'm not saying chances are for everybody, but I took a lot of them in my day. So I appreciate all you guys, and I hope this was insightful. Now, I know everybody's a little mentally drained from the contests, but there are contests going on. So if you want to participate, I'm still giving away Tops knives. I got knives. I got stuff. I shipped $100 worth of packages, guys. So please help me earn my $100 back. I'm asking all of you. Trust is a whole nother story. We'll get to that after my rant. I'm asking all of you, please comment on the YouTubes tonight. Leave reviews on the iTunes. If you haven't subscribed to the Podbean, please do. Please. Please. And please leave reviews on iTunes and Podbean. Subscribe to Podbean. And head over to YouTube and comment away. Tag sponsors in my last post. Now, getting to trust. I'm glad Semi-Auto Kid brought it up. Trust is an interesting one. And trust is something earned in a minute and lost in a second. Okay, trust is the toughest thing to get back. Some people are over trusting, and some people are terrible at trusting. Okay, and it takes a lot of trust. I tend to sometimes be a little over trusting of people, but I've learned through the years that there's just certain people you can't let in your circle. And as things elevate and as your game elevates, you just can't let certain people around you because they can't handle it. And this goes for relationships, and this goes for friendships and everything else. And Semi-Auto Kid and I chatted about a little of this morning. There's certain people you just can't trust them. You just can't. Because they don't have a code. And they don't have any ethics. And they don't have any understanding. And they just live a certain way where they just want to see the world burn. And they live to see the world burn. You need to cut those people out and block them out and remove them from your life. Immediately. Immediately. And if you're dating someone that you can't trust, or once that trust is a little broken, depending on the established boundary, we all have mental boundaries. Some guys have too many boundaries. They don't even want their girl talking to another guy. They don't even want their girl going out without them, dressing a certain way, looking a certain way. They have all these mental boundaries. I don't think you need to have all these mental boundaries, but you need to have some boundaries. There's some things you're going to have. And you need to lay those boundaries out on people. And some people put themselves in very bad positions. Very bad. And they don't think it through. And we're usually allowed a bogey for that once or twice. But sometimes you just have to communicate back and listen and say, look, I didn't know that this was one of the boundaries. I didn't know. You can get trust back, Cassie, but it has to be both ways. Sometimes one side's not willing to give it, then they are, then they're not, and you either give it with all your heart back, Or don't bother giving it all if it's going to be like, I trust you now, but I don't trust you later. But reestablish what those boundaries are. It's like you hear the term, nothing good happens after midnight. If you're one of those dudes that likes to go out and drink with the boys, 11, 12, closes the bars, I have a simple rule of thumb with women. If I'm dating you, you're not going to be closing the bar rooms. I'm sorry, nothing good happens. That's just a rule. Go out, have dinner, want to have a couple drinks, cool. But nothing good sticks around when they say last call. Nothing good. Don't be that person. Can that happen once in a while? Sure. If that's a regular thing, chances are at my age and stage of the game and where I am, it's not going to work. And I don't drink. So me not being a drinker, which is a funny side story, and Semi-Auto Kid would appreciate this, I don't drink. And one time someone said under a meme of me, I saw him drunk at a party once, and people were like, he doesn't drink. So you're the wrong guy. I don't drink. Even when you do trust someone again, there's still that thought in the back of your head. Yeah, that's why you either have to trust again, like Cassie's saying, or don't bother at all. You know what I mean? It's not going to work. So you either have to erase it and start over and do a reboot, or don't bother at all. But, yeah, I mean, it's very rare that you see a drink in my hand. It's incredibly rare at any event. But that is my belief system as to why relationships fail. Whether it's friendships, whether it's dating relationships, whether it's anything. So, to everybody out there, and 221B Tactical can attest to all that I'm saying. Be very careful who you let in your circle. Be careful who you date. Remember my 3 rules as to why a relationship fails. Okay? Time, effort, and of course the most important, not communication, listening. If all the signs are there and it's not going to work, don't let it work. That's probably the best way to put it. So, here's the thing. You guys know the rules. There's ongoing contests. I have another Canic. Another Canic. Another Canic. Cassie, honesty is not number one. Listening is. Because you'll almost never, and I mean ever, get brutal honesty. It's tough. There's a number of reasons why honesty is not number one. You know why honesty is not number one? Because we live in a world where females get plastic surgery. Everybody does. Well, you can have honesty. I don't believe for 1 second that anybody is painfully honest. And I think in the beginning, we always make ourselves sound the best that we can be. It's when you peel back the onion that we get the real truth. You can debate all day about trust and honesty, but I think if you listen to the person, you're going to get all those things out of them. Okay? Trust and honesty are more fundamental human traits that you should have. You should have a fundamental honesty trigger, okay? And by that I mean your resume is always going to be the best glowing sign of you, right? Yeah, you reckon. Your resume is always going to be the glowing version of you. You're going to get a glowing version of people when you meet them. The glowing version. Doesn't mean they're not honest, but, I mean, are you peeling under the hood? Are you looking at tax returns? You know, it just, honesty becomes, You want people to have good values, to not look you in the eye and tell you a lie. Okay? So they should have a value system. But I think that's a fundamental trait as a human being. And if you're going to date someone or someone's going to be recommended to you and they're going to be your friend, you would hope that they have those fundamental traits. If you got into a full-blown relationship with them and they didn't have those, then you weren't fucking listening in the first place. You weren't. You weren't listening to them because chances are they told you all along the way and you saw those signs. People were like, I was shocked. They led a double life. Like, who was the guy? The Clark Rockefeller guy that like had the double life that was telling people he was part of the Rockefellers? I only know that story because it happened in Boston. What I get a kick out of that story is nobody checked if the guy was really a Rockefeller. I mean, come on. Yeah, but Cassie, over a period of time, you're going to start to dissect that. And you're going to dissect that through listening to them. You know what I mean? If you listen, Suresh and I have been through this in semi-auto. If you listen to people, there's some people that you've listened to it on here, Cassie, and you don't even meet them face to face. They're fucking crazy. And you sniff that out right away. You're like, okay, this person isn't well. You can't be blind to it. That's right, Will. So, I mean, we can debate all day about fundamental human traits people should have. Okay? I think fundamentally by the third date, if you're in a relationship with them or you're starting to call that person a friend, and I would say if you know someone going on 3 years, they're your friend. You pretty much know where they're going to test their honesty. Where they're going to test their honesty. It's different when you look at it from a married point and a single point. To a degree. I've been in both situations, Daryl, so I know. But you should have those, like you can get a good feel. Semi-Auto Kid's been following me a long time. Cassie, you've been following me a long time. I would say you have a pretty good grasp, and Semi-Auto Kid and I were talking about this. I would say, and Frank, you have a pretty good grasp on the type of person you're following and what that person is capable of. Pretty good grasp. Because over a period of time, and I've done 50 of these podcasts and another 25 at the previous spot and another 20 before that, you have a pretty good grasp and amongst all the lives of the type of person you're dealing with. I don't know much, but I've never gone on here and I don't want to say waved a gun around because John did that and it fucked up my whole Instagram. I got it shut down for a day. But I've never got on here and was hammered drunk, never had anything crazy happen on here that I couldn't explain or couldn't talk about. You get a good understanding for the person. Okay? Yeah, that was a bad call, Jonathan. It shut I couldn't do a live for like 30 days. I thought I would never get lives back. It's a long story. But the point is, I think honesty is more of a fundamental human quality. And I don't mean to jump over it and negate your point of view about honesty being the most important thing in a relationship. I think if you're not an honest person, you're not an honest person. If you have a failure to be honest, chances are that's gonna happen a lot. And I know very prominent people in the firearms industry, and Suresh knows them, Tutu Ambino, and I know them, that are so unhonest and so flagrant about it. And I know prominent instructors that are this way, that are so flagrant about it, and they get called out. And some people don't call them out, and people follow them and worship them. And you're just like, I'm like, if you knew 5 things about this person that I know, and I'm talking about known, not know, it's known, you would never put that person on a pedestal. Ever. And I can say that with the straightest face. And I know enough about... Yes, you can grow and you can learn from anything, Cassie. You can grow and you can learn from anything. There's always growth and there's always learning. But there's limits to growth and learning. There's always limits. Sometimes that'll creep its head in. It's usually if a guy's a hitter, he's a hitter. So keep that in mind. But before we go down a wormhole, this was an awesome discussion. Everybody brought up great points. People are scared to be honest because they don't want to hurt people, but truthfully, sometimes it's more damage than the truth. That's a whole other topic for another time. But this was an awesome topic, and I hope everybody got some insight on how I view relationships and where relationships fail. So, if you want to still participate, I'm shipping more packages Thursday. I'm asking all of you, please tag companies you want to see sponsor it. I'm asking all of you to at least head to my last post and tag companies like Grey Ghost, tag companies like Grey Ghost Precision and Grey Ghost bags and stuff, and tag companies you want to see sponsor the podcast. Make sure you tag whoever you like to see kind of sponsor it and come around. Thank the sponsors, okay? Thank them. Thank Canic. Thank Century Arms. Thank them. I'm asking everybody, if you have not left a review on iTunes, please go leave one tonight. Please. If you have not downloaded the latest episodes on Podbean, head over to Podbean, download them. Head over to YouTube, and please, my last post. Head over to my last YouTube, or my last few YouTubes. Comment, tag, share. The comments slowed down a little because people think the contests are over. The contests are not over. I delivered one Canic. I got 2 more to go. So, who makes Glock parts? Armaspec? Armaspec makes Glock parts. Tag them. So, please let them know. And let's get right on to get some optics in. So, guys, I'm asking you for 10 minutes of your time after I sign off to do all this. 10 minutes, you can leave 10 comments. I'll do it for you. Say the word. So please, head over, do it, share, and let's get this to the next level. Tomorrow or the day after, one of these days, I'm going to do my NRA preview, and that's when we're going to do a real blitz on a lot of the companies too. But let's give it one more night to pepper the YouTube and pepper the last post. I'm going to sign off. I hope this topic was good. Thank you to Kenzies Optics, Riton Optics, Taurus USA, Crossbreed Holsters, of course, Canic. And don't forget to check out the Onnit Nutrition. You still get gargoyles glasses if you get some of the Onnit stuff. Thank you, guys. I appreciate everyone. I appreciate everything that you do. I really do. All the sharing, all the helping goes a long way. So please continue it and keep it going. So make sure you tune in, watch some episodes, and make sure, I want to see about 10, 15 comments tonight. No sandbagging on the YouTube. Help me out. All right? I appreciate you guys. And I am signing off.